So I'm going back to the drawing board about the artists and the singers, and I'm pairing them up in twos. And it just bothers me how I kind of pair them up in twos, and I've kind of paired Pink with the Contradiction girl. Like it's because before I had her paired up with Lily Allen, um, but that was before I knew she represented a warlord. Now that I know she represents a warlord, I think does a warlord really match up well with a character who represents contradiction, and I don't think that really does. So I've repaired them, and I've paired Pink with Gwen Stefani because I liked them. Like I used to like them when I was a child, and I was a really big fan of their songs. I thought they had so much just confidence and attitude and stuff. And even though I did relate more to Britney, I also liked the contradiction side, hence was liking these characters. But yeah, I think they work better as a pair. And I guess the Warlord probably is the more positive one. I think the Tormentor is not positive at all. There's very little, well, there is good in it because I'm pretty sure there's good in me being tormented by myself in order to create these different characters, but it's causing me way too many problems, and I can't see anything positive. Well, I don't want to believe that there's positive in it because it's too frustrating. But yes, I think there's more positive in the war because technically, I think the world's biggest problem is overpopulation, and that problem is not going to go away. It's going to keep on getting worse, and war is the best way to solve that problem. And so I'd say out of the two, the Pink character is definitely the more positive one. This means that the Mabel character is now I've put the Contradiction Lily Allen with Mabel because Mabel represents the sort of music industry, and the whole music industry is all about contradicting messages, and like the Justin Bieber character as well. There's all sorts of messages in there, and you can read whatever you want. It's kind of like reading his songs, or a little bit like reading the Bible. And I think you can interpret them in any kind of way because there's so many different ways you can interpret different songs and stuff, depending on what you think it's about. But yeah, so I've put the Contradiction character, which is, I think Lily Allen is more like my telling of me being a contradiction. Sometimes I don't agree with a lot of things she said, but I agree with the opposite of what she says. And sometimes I agree with both statements. There's one or two songs, well, a few songs where I even though it's like, the sun is in the sky, or why would I want to be anywhere else? And, I love the sun. That's my favorite thing. And then, but at the end of the day, the video is all about her, like, not enjoying being in London and stuff. And, but yeah, so I put them together, and I think Jennifer Lopez and Shakira go better. Like I think they both represent angels, which is more like the singers. Although I do relate a lot more to Shakira. I think I have a lot more in common with her than with Jennifer Lopez. Like I feel like Jennifer Lopez is a bit more about like designer clothes and a little bit more liking luxuries than me, whereas I think Shakira is more about like thinking about more thinking about others, more considerate towards others, whereas Jennifer Lopez is more about wealth, not so much about wealth, but she's got more of a Beyonce side of her, and Shakira doesn't. So I'd say Shakira is the more positive one, but I think they are a really good match because they've been singing for the same sort of length of time, and yeah, I just I like things to be in twos, and I'm trying to pair them up, and I feel like by doing this, I kind of actually came across the Alicia Key character because I used to listen to her songs a lot, and then I was just thinking, we need something to back Beyonce up a bit better. I don't think she would really feel that confident knowing that she's been backed up by a bunch of newbies, and she would probably feel a lot more confident being or portraying herself as a false god if she thought that my higher self definitely wants that to happen. And yeah, I think having someone like Alicia Keys to help back her up really does say that yes, we've got a false idol worshipper, so now we need to find sort of both false god character, and yeah, And yeah, because I don't want it all to be black as well. It shouldn't all just be. I know generally the colored characters represent more negative side, just because I guess it's black people is what the term is. I don't even like calling black people black because I think that's insulting to them, because black is supposed to be like dark and negative, and hence why I prefer to say colored, because I'm a big fan of Rainbow Bright, and color just sounds so much better because I love color, whereas black just sounds dark. And yeah, I feel like a lot of the black characters do represent a sort of darker side of things, which I don't want it to be. I don't want it to be about race, but if it's God doing it, then God has created all races, so you can't really accuse God of being racist. But anyway, I yeah, it's but yeah, there's a few other characters though that I haven't really spoken about, which I guess is Kelly Clarkson. So I added Anastasia, which is, I love Anastasia's songs and singing it. Baby, come on, don't claim that love you've never let me feel. Like, I love singing her songs. I love that song particularly, but I just can't do the chorus. I'm out of love, set me free. I don't know. I can't do that song as well as she sings it. But I love her voice. But yeah, she's a really good character. But I haven't really talked about what her character is before, because I don't know. I don't want to like categorize people into sort of characters, but at the same time, I feel like by categorizing them into a character, it almost becomes like part of my story. And characters that fall under a story, like giving Beyonce a false god character, it's like a title, and people like titles. If you have like a Lord title or whatever, it's yeah. But yeah, there's a few singers that I still haven't really included in my list. Kelly Clarkson is one of them. Now, Kelly Clarkson reminds me of two friends that I had, Adele Clarkson and well, there's Adele Clarkson and Kelly Salmon. Um, I have a story, which is that when I was leaving Sylvia Young, there was a girl who went around, Kelly, who was my friend, went around telling people not to give people presents to me because I was leaving. And yes, Safa and Christina told me that she said that, and yeah, it was a little bit bitchy. But yeah, she was a really good actor. She always played Annie in Annie, and she was talented. I don't think I really liked her at all. But she I don't know. I don't want to just put her down, but I thought she was a friend, and then I kind of thought she wasn't when I heard that. And then the story about Adele Clarkson. Adele Clarkson was more of a friend. Like, out of all the girls in Sylvia Young, I think she was the only one who I actually went. She lived in Shropshire, and I went all the way up to her house. And I think there was a story about her parents selling their house to live in a caravan so that they could afford for her to go to Sylvia Young Theatre School. So her parents wanted it a lot. I felt like her parents wanted her to be famous more than she wanted it. But she did want to be a singer. I think I was really good at opera singing, and she was better at the more pop stuff, and she wished it was the other way around. Like, she actually preferred classical, or being able to sing like Sound of Music or stuff like that more so than I was better at that, and she wished she was better than that, and I wanted to be better on different stuff. But yeah, she's I wouldn't want to say that she wasn't a friend, but at the same time, I know that I couldn't go to her or say hi to her because I know that I'm a god, and I don't think I'd be able to convince her that I'm a god. And so I feel like Kelly Clarkson represents friends who are not really, well, either friends that are not really friends, so that's the negative side, like the Kelly character, or she represents friends that just probably wouldn't have believed that I'm a god. I don't know how Adele Clarkson would feel if I told her that I was a god, but I know that I've had no friends throughout this whole 10-year period. I can't have guys as friends because they just start hitting on me and wanting more. And I can't have girls as friends because I just don't think anyone that I know would believe me. Laura was one of those examples, and you know what? I can mention her name as much as I want. She can't sue me for just talking about her. And to be honest, she's angry that I've given away personal information. Well, she shouldn't have given it to me. It's not exactly like we are friends. I've met her. I haven't met her at all in the last 10 years. I had a 1 hour conversation last year on the phone, on a video chat, and that's about all we've had. She hasn't helped me in any way, and and yeah, Laura Kelly, Adele Clarkson is just, you know, I wouldn't be able to go to her. I wouldn't be able to say hi. Do you remember me? And oh, by the way, I'm a god. She wouldn't believe me. And I'm trying to analyze Kelly Clarkson's songs, and I've just noticed that there's ones about breakaway and I'm leaving, and I don't know. There's a lot of negative ones, and I haven't really gone through them all, but yeah, she's I know I talked about her years ago, but that was only because I saw the name and it reminded me of my two friends. But when it came to her, I wasn't really like I wasn't a follower or fan of her work. But then again, I wasn't of Demi Lovato either. I saw her as being a similar kind of category to Demi Lovato. Actually, that's a good point. Who have I paired Demi Lovato? I paired her up with the one that I like. Well, that makes more sense because I paired her up with Jessie J because that's like negative and positive, and I don't know. I feel like because there's two names of people I knew in Kelly Clarkson's name, I feel like it's negative and positive all in the same character. But yeah, I also feel like with this Kelly Clarkson character, she kind of reminds me more of Carrie Underwood. So I think that would be a better match. I feel like I see them in a similar kind of way. One of them are people who just wouldn't accept. Kelly Clarkson represents people that just might know me and pretend that they pretend to be friends or act like friends. Maybe they're general people who kind of like me, but they just can't accept that I'm a god. And it's just what reminds me of what Laura says. People can have their own opinions, and they don't have to believe in you. They don't have to believe in what you're believing in. And it's just like, but I'm God. I'm literally God. I literally made humans. How would you feel if you literally gave birth to someone and that child grew up believing that you're not their mother, that actually they were born from stalks, or I don't know, came out of the ground, or if they've started growing up believing nonsense, are you going to say to your child, okay, I respect your religion. Your religion says that I'm not your mother, and I'm going to respect it. They wouldn't. If a mother has done something, especially like something as painful as a birth, you're going to tell your child. And if your children have your DNA inside of you because of something you've done, you would want them to believe in you. And if they don't believe in you, you would tell them, you would correct them, and you would say, no, it's not all right to believe what you're believing because you're believing something that's wrong. And I feel like I feel the same way. Like when I was just going at the beginning, I wouldn't have been able to have the strength to tell people this because I was just being nice. And now I just, I don't know what has changed in my mind, but I'm not going to accept other people's religions now. I feel like I've gone through way too much shit and way too much pain, and I feel like my soul is being drained out of me, like not every day, but every now and then. And I'm going through this because I feel like I'm making the timeline. I still don't want to believe that it has to be this long. I still think that you're just making it longer than it needs to be. But at the same time, I'm still revealing characters that I didn't reveal before. So I don't know. On one hand, I don't think it needs to be this long, but on the other hand, if it doesn't need to be this long, then why am I still finding characters like Alicia Keys and if I'm listening to their songs now, and if what I'm doing right now is inspiring things that they did 10, 20 years ago, then does that mean if you would have come to me a year ago, then I wouldn't have listened? I mean, I probably would have listened to the songs, but I might have not been angry or feeling this. I don't know. I don't want to believe that it had to be this long. I really don't want to believe that. But at the same time, yeah. So I feel like my mind is changing about how I feel towards people who can't believe that I'm God. I think this Kelly Clarkson character is one of them. Like I wasn't happy with that song where there's like a kid, and it looks like she's going to save the kid. But at the same time, I was watching that. I knew that she was acting like she was doing that because she was trying to show that the kid was like me and that she was going to save me, and yet no one was saving me. And I was hurt by that song, and I stopped listening to her. And I'm listening to the other ones, and you know, I think she knew that I was hurt by that song because I made a video saying that I was hurt by it, and I feel like that's where these other songs are coming from. But when I'm thinking back to, you know, Kelly Clarkson and the Adele Clarkson, I mean, yeah, the Kelly Salmon and the Adele Clarkson, like these two girls that I knew, you know, one wasn't actually my friend, and both of them wouldn't have believed that I was God, and this wouldn't have bothered me 5 years ago. If you would have just come and helped me and exposed me, I wouldn't have been bothered by people who reject me. But I'm at the stage now where I am bothered by people who reject me. Why? Because they shouldn't reject me. I've made them. They would be dinosaurs if it weren't for me. So if you want to go and believe in other gods, then I don't care if you see them as fake, false gods. That's completely fine. But if you see false gods as being true gods, then I guess God the Father can be okay right now, just because I'm hoping that this world leaders are going to help me with fixing this place. But yeah, they shouldn't worship you. Um, they shouldn't worship. They should worship you only so that you realize how important it is to reduce the population. But yeah, as long as you know how desperate or important it is to reduce the population, they shouldn't worship you other than for that reason. But yeah, I'm wondering if what other characters that I used to listen to. I think I'm pretty sure I've got them all now. I really am. But then I said that when I revealed Pink. But anyway.